Lily Brennan sat cross-legged in the tall grass, watching Scrapper dig furiously at the base of an old tree. Dirt flew everywhere, covering her boots and the hem of her dress. She didn't care. At 8 years old, she had learned that being clean was far less important than being with her best friend. Scrapper was not like other pets. He was a honey badger, small and stocky with black fur and a silver-gray stripe running from his head to his tail. 3 years ago, Lily had found him as a tiny kit, alone and crying near the agricultural fields. His mother had been killed by a fallen tree during a storm. Lily's parents, David and Ruth, had tried to explain that wild animals should stay wild. But one look at the baby's dark eyes had changed their minds. Scrapper became part of the Brennan family. The colony of Verdant 7 was home to 2,000 humans who had arrived 15 years earlier. They grew crops, studied the local plants, and lived peacefully with the forest creatures. The planet was beautiful, with purple-tinged trees and 2 small moons that lit up the night sky. Lily had been born here. She knew no other home. Scrapper finally backed out of his hole, a fat grub wriggling in his mouth. He crunched it with satisfaction, then bounded over to Lily and climbed into her lap. Despite his fierce reputation, he was gentle with her. Always had been. "You're getting dirt all over me," Lily giggled, scratching behind his ears. Scrapper made a chirping sound that meant he was happy. From the main colony buildings, David called out, "Lily, time to come in. We have visitors." Visitors were rare on Verdant 7. Supply ships came every few months, but actual visitors from other worlds almost never stopped by. Lily scooped up Scrapper and jogged toward home, curious about who had arrived. Inside the community hall, a crowd had gathered. At the center stood the strangest beings Lily had ever seen. The tallest one looked like it was made of purple crystal, its body reflecting light in rainbow patterns. Its voice sounded like wind chimes when it spoke. "I am Ambassador Trilvan of the Harmonious League," the crystal being announced. "We have come to assess your colony for proper integration into galactic commerce." David stood with the colony administrator, Greg Foster, and several council members. Ruth pulled Lily close, keeping her daughter near. Scrapper peeked out from Lily's arms, his small eyes fixed on the newcomers. Behind Trilvan stood 4 guards. These were nothing like the ambassador. They were reptilian creatures, tall and muscular, with scales that shifted from green to gray. Their eyes were cold and yellow. Each carried a weapon on their hip. "We welcome peaceful contact," Greg said carefully. "Our colony operates under Earth Charter. We're farmers and researchers, nothing more." Trilvan's crystalline head tilted. "Yes, we have reviewed your records. However, there are concerns about your planet's ecosystem management. We detected several predator species in close proximity to your settlement. This violates League safety protocols. The animals here don't bother us," David explained. "We've learned to coexist. In fact, many of us have bonded with local wildlife and earth animals we brought with us." At that moment, Scrapper decided he had seen enough. He let out a low growl, barely audible but unmistakable. The 4 reptilian guards immediately tensed, their hands moving to their weapons. Trilvan's attention snapped to Lily. "What is that creature?" "This is Scrapper," Lily said, her voice small but steady. "He's my honey badger. He's from Earth." One of the guards, larger than the others with a scar across his snout, stepped forward. "That is a predator species, aggressive, dangerous." "He's not dangerous," Lily protested. "He's my friend." Trilvan moved closer, looming over the small girl. Scrapper's growl grew louder. The honey badger's body tensed, ready to leap if the alien came any nearer. "Primitive vermin," Trilvan said dismissively. "Ambassador, we cannot allow such creatures near civilized beings. They must be relocated. Permanently." The word hung in the air like poison. Everyone in the hall understood what relocated really meant. Ruth's grip on Lily's shoulder tightened. David stepped forward, placing himself between his family and the aliens. "That's not going to happen. Scrapper is part of our family. All our animals are protected under Earth law." "Earth law does not apply in League space," Trilvan replied. "This system falls within our sphere of influence. You will comply with our regulations or face consequences." Greg tried to mediate. "Surely we can discuss this. Find a compromise that works for everyone." The scarred guard spoke in a harsh, grating voice. "I am Captain Dreth. There is no compromise with dangerous beasts. They are eliminated or you lose League protection. Choose wisely, humans." Lily felt tears building in her eyes. She buried her face in Scrapper's fur. The honey badger had stopped growling, but his body remained tense and alert. He could sense his girl's distress. Trilvin turned to leave, the guards following. At the doorway, the ambassador paused. "You have 10 days to remove all unsuitable creatures from your settlement. We will return to verify compliance. Do not test the League's patience." The aliens departed, their shuttle lifting off with a roar that rattled the windows. The hall erupted in anxious conversation. Some colonists argued for compliance, fearing the League's military power. Others, like David, refused to abandon their animal companions. Lily said nothing. She simply held Scrapper tighter, feeling his small, fierce heart beating against her chest. The honey badger looked up at her with dark, intelligent eyes. In that moment, something passed between them. An understanding, a promise whatever came next, they would face it together. And Scrapper, despite his small size, had never backed down from anything in his life. He wasn't about to start now. 3 days had passed since the aliens left, and the colony could talk about nothing else. In the main square, people gathered in small groups, their voices worried and tense. Some wanted to fight back. Others wanted to give in. Nobody seemed to have a good answer. Lily sat on the steps of the community hall, Scrapper beside her. The honey badger was unusually quiet, as if he too understood that something bad was coming. Other children had gathered around her. Tommy, who was 10 and always brave, sat on her left. Aisha, 9 years old with quick hands and a quicker mind, sat on her right. Wei, the youngest at 7, hugged his knees and looked scared. "They can't make you give up Scrapper," Tommy declared. "It's not right." "My dad says the League has destroyed colonies before," Wei whispered. "Blown them up from space." "That's just a story to scare us," Aisha said, but her voice lacked conviction. Inside the hall, the adults were meeting again. Through the open windows, raised voices carried across the square. The debate had been going on for hours. "We have no choice," someone shouted. It sounded like Mrs. Peterson, who ran the supply depot. "If we refuse, they'll cut us off. No supplies, no support, no protection. We'll die out here." David's voice rang out clear and firm. "We came to this planet to build something better. We don't abandon family just because someone threatens us. That includes our animals. Your daughter's pet is not worth risking 2,000 lives," Mr. Harrison argued. He was head of colony security and he sounded exhausted. Ruth spoke next, her scientist's mind cutting through the emotion. "This isn't about one honey badger. It's about principle. Today they demand we kill our pets. Tomorrow they demand we leave our homes. Where does it end?" Greg Foster tried to maintain order. "Please everyone, let's stay calm. We have 7 days before they return. Maybe Earth can send help. Maybe we can negotiate," but his words felt empty. Everyone knew Earth was too far away. Help wouldn't arrive in time. Lily felt hot tears on her cheeks. She picked up Scrapper and stood. "Come on," she told the other children. "We need to go." "Go where?" Aisha asked. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find him." The 4 children slipped away from the square, heading toward the forest. Lily had a plan, though it wasn't much of one. There was a cave system about 2 miles into the woods. She and Scrapper had explored it many times. Maybe they could hide there until this all blew over. They were halfway to the tree line when Ruth caught up with them. "Lily Brennan, stop right now." Lily turned, clutching Scrapper. "I won't let them hurt him, Mom. I won't." Ruth knelt down, eye level with her daughter. The other children backed away, giving them space. "Baby, I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But running away won't solve this." "Then what will?" Lily's voice cracked. "Everyone wants to give him up. They want me to just hand him over so those aliens can kill him." "Not everyone," Ruth said gently. "Your father and I will never let that happen. But we need to be smart. We need to work together. How can we fight them? They have ships and weapons and soldiers." Ruth touched Lily's face, wiping away tears. "We fight by not giving in. By showing them that humans don't abandon those we love. Even when it's hard. Even when it's dangerous." Scrapper, sensing the emotion, nuzzled Lily's chin. His whiskers tickled her skin. "What if they hurt people because of me?" Lily whispered. "What if someone gets killed because I won't give up Scrapper?" "That wouldn't be your fault, sweetheart. That would be their choice. You're not responsible for their cruelty." Behind Ruth, other colonists began to emerge from the hall. Some looked angry. Others looked determined. David walked at the front, and when he saw his family, his expression softened. "We took a vote," he announced to the gathered crowd. 60% of the colony stands with the Brennans. We will not comply with the League's demands." A cheer went up from some colonists. Others walked away shaking their heads, clearly disagreeing. Greg Foster looked 10 years older than he had that morning. "I've sent a priority message to Earth, but even if they respond immediately, help is weeks away. We're on our own." "Then we prepare," David said. "We fortify the colony. We protect our people and our animals. We show the League that humans don't scare easily." Over the next few days, the colony transformed. Those who agreed with the resistance worked around the clock. They reinforced buildings, set up barriers, and prepared emergency shelters. Those who disagreed kept to themselves, but most didn't interfere. Lily spent her time with Scrapper and the other animals. The colony had 17 dogs, 9 cats, 3 goats, and a small flock of chickens that had been brought from Earth. There were also some local creatures that had been befriended over the years, including a pair of wolf-like animals the colonists called shadow runners. Something strange began to happen. The animals started acting differently. They gathered together more often. The dogs stopped their usual playful fighting. The shadow runners came down from the hills and stayed near the colony. Even the chickens seemed alert and watchful. "They know," Aisha observed. "The animals know something's wrong." Tommy nodded. "My dog keeps standing at the edge of camp looking at the sky, like he's waiting for something." Scrapper never left Lily's side. At night he slept at the foot of her bed, his small body tense and ready. During the day he patrolled around her like a tiny guardian. On the 10th day the sky darkened with approaching ships. The League had returned, and this time they brought more than just an ambassador. Dreth's voice boomed across the colony through external speakers. "Humans of Verdant 7, your time is up. Surrender the predator species or face immediate consequences." Lily stood in the square with her parents, Scrapper in her arms. Around them, the entire colony had gathered. Every person who had chosen to resist stood shoulder to shoulder. David raised his voice. "The answer is no. We will not surrender our family." High above, weapon systems on the League ships began to power up, casting an ominous glow across the purple forest. The transport ships landed like falling stars, kicking up dust and scorching the grass. Dreth emerged from the lead vessel, his reptilian form towering over the assembled humans. Behind him marched 50 armored soldiers, each carrying weapons that hummed with deadly energy. "This is your final warning," Dreth announced, his yellow eyes scanning the crowd. "Produce the creatures or we will take them by force." David stepped forward, placing himself between the soldiers and his family. "We've already given you our answer." Dreth's scaled lips pulled back in what might have been a smile. "Then you have chosen suffering." The soldiers fanned out, moving with military precision toward the edges of the colony. They carried scanners that beeped and chirped as they searched for animal life signs. The colonists watched helplessly as the troops approached their homes. At the Peterson house, soldiers burst through the door. Mrs. Peterson's old retriever, Max, barked furiously. A soldier raised his weapon. The blast of energy missed Max by inches, scorching the wall behind him. Max ran, his elderly legs carrying him faster than they had in years. All across the colony, the same scene repeated. Animals fled from homes, their owners shouting in protest. But the soldiers ignored the humans, focused only on their targets. Lily clung to Scrapper, her whole body shaking. Ruth held her daughter tight, while David stood ready to shield them both. Around them, other families formed protective circles around their pets. Then Tommy's voice rang out. "Run, everyone run to the forest!" It wasn't organized or planned, but the colonists moved as one. Parents grabbed children, children grabbed pets, and everyone bolted for the tree line. The soldiers gave chase, but they were weighed down by armor and unfamiliar with the terrain. The forest swallowed the fleeing humans. Purple trees provided cover, and the colonists knew every path and hiding spot. They scattered in different directions, making it harder for the soldiers to follow. Lily ran with her parents and Scrapper, branches whipping past her face. Behind them, she could hear the heavy footsteps of pursuing soldiers and the crackle of energy weapons firing into the trees. They reached a clearing where other colonists had gathered. The shadow runners were there too, circling the group protectively. Other local predators had emerged from deeper in the forest, drawn by some instinct the humans didn't understand. A soldier burst into the clearing, weapon raised. Before he could fire, one of the shadow runners leaped, knocking him down. The soldier's armor protected him from serious injury, but he scrambled backward in fear. More soldiers arrived. They formed a line, weapons pointed at the mixed group of humans and animals. Dreth pushed through his troops, his scarred face twisted in anger. "Enough games," he growled. "Hand over the creatures now." "No," said a small voice. Everyone turned. Lily had stepped forward, Scrapper still in her arms. The 8-year-old girl looked tiny compared to the armored aliens, but her voice was steady. "You can't have him," Lily continued. "He's my friend. He's done nothing wrong." Dreth laughed, a harsh sound like grinding stones. "Foolish child. That beast is dangerous. It must be destroyed for the safety of civilized species." "He's not dangerous. He's kind and brave, and he's never hurt anyone who didn't hurt him first." "Then let me test that claim." Dreth reached out with one clawed hand toward Scrapper. What happened next occurred so fast that later, people would argue about the exact sequence of events. Scrapper's entire body went rigid. His fur stood on end. And then he launched himself from Lily's arms directly at Dreth's face. The honey badger was a blur of black and silver, his claws and teeth finding every gap in Dreth's armor. The alien captain roared in pain and surprise, staggering backward. His soldiers stood frozen, unsure whether to fire and risk hitting their commander. Scrapper was relentless. He bit Dreth's hand, clawed at his face, and when Dreth tried to throw him off, the honey badger simply climbed back up and continued his assault. For such a small creature, his ferocity was terrifying. Then something incredible happened. Max, the old retriever, charged forward with a bark that sounded almost like a battle cry. He crashed into a soldier's legs, toppling him. The other dogs followed, attacking with coordinated precision. The cats leaped from trees, landing on helmets and scratching at visors. Even the chickens got involved, pecking at ankles and creating chaos. The local animals joined in. Shadow runners moved like liquid darkness, separating soldiers from each other. Smaller forest creatures darted between legs, tripping the invaders. It was as if the entire planet had decided to fight back. Dreth finally managed to fling Scrapper away. The honey badger hit a tree, slid down, and immediately got back up, ready for more. Blood streamed from scratches on Dreth's snout and hands. His armor was dented and scarred. "Fall back," he ordered his troops. "Retreat to the ships." The soldiers ran, harassed every step of the way by angry animals. Some troops tried to fire their weapons, but the creatures were too quick and too many. Within minutes, the clearing was empty of aliens. The colonists stood in shocked silence. Then Tommy started laughing. Others joined in, the sound of relief and disbelief mixing together. David scooped up Scrapper, checking him for injuries. The honey badger was fine, not even breathing hard. He looked almost disappointed that the fight was over. Lily hugged her pet, tears of pride streaming down her face. "You showed them, Scrapper. You showed them all." Ruth pulled out her communication device. "I recorded the whole thing. I'm uploading it to every galactic network I can access. Let the universe see what happens when you threaten a human's family." From the colony, smoke rose where the League ships remained grounded. Greg's voice came through on the emergency channel. "They're preparing for a larger assault. This isn't over. It's just beginning." David looked around at the assembled humans and animals, all standing together in the purple forest. "Then we'd better prepare. Because we're not backing down, not now, not ever." High above, more League ships entered orbit. The battle for Verdant 7 had truly begun. The colony worked through the night, turning their peaceful settlement into something that could withstand an attack. Windows were reinforced. Emergency supplies were distributed. Children were taught evacuation routes. Nobody slept much. Lily helped where she could, carrying water bottles to tired adults and keeping the younger children calm. Scrapper stayed close, as always. The other animals had not returned to their normal routines. They remained alert, positioned around the colony like sentries. Above the planet, 3 League warships held position. Their weapons stayed powered but not firing. It seemed the aliens were waiting for something. That something arrived on the 3rd day. Ruth's video had spread across the galactic network faster than anyone expected. The footage of a small Earth creature attacking an armored soldier had been viewed billions of times. Some alien species found it amusing. Others found it disturbing. But everyone was talking about it. In the colony command center, Ruth monitored incoming messages. Most were supportive. A few were threats, but one message stood out. "It's from a species called the Chittick," she told David and Greg. "They're insectoid beings, part of the League Council. They're demanding an investigation into Trilvan's actions." "Will it help us?" Greg asked hopefully. "Maybe, but it takes time. Time we might not have." As if to prove her point, Dreth's voice boomed across the colony through amplified speakers. Humans, your resistance is futile. Your message has been seen by the galaxy, yes, but messages do not stop weapons. Surrender now and you will be permitted to leave this world alive. Continue to resist and you will be eliminated. David picked up the colony's transmitter. We're not leaving. This is our home. Then you will die here. But the attack didn't come. Not yet. Instead, the League ships maintained their blockade. No supplies could get in. No messages could get out except through heavily monitored channels. The aliens were trying to starve them into submission. Fortunately, Verdant 7 was an agricultural colony. They had food stores and could grow more. Water came from a clean river. They could hold out for months if needed. The real problem was morale. Some colonists began to waver. Harrison called meetings with those who had voted against resistance. Voices were raised. Arguments broke out. The colony was splitting apart. Lily watched it all with worried eyes. She felt responsible. If she had just hidden Scrapper better, maybe none of this would have happened. One evening, she took her honey badger and walked to the edge of camp where Tommy, Aisha, and Wei were sitting. The four children had become inseparable, bound together by shared fear and determination. My parents are talking about leaving, Wei admitted quietly. They're scared. Mine too, Aisha said. But they won't go without everyone else. Tommy threw a rock into the darkness. This is stupid. We shouldn't have to choose between our homes and our pets. The League are bullies. My dad says Earth is sending ships, Lily offered. But they're still weeks away. Weeks might as well be years, Wei muttered. They sat in silence watching the stars. Somewhere up there, alien ships waited to destroy them. It seemed impossible that anything could change. Then Scrapper perked up his ears. The other animals around the colony did the same. Dogs began to bark. The Shadowrunners howled. Something was happening. From the forest, more animals emerged. Not just a few, but hundreds. There were creatures the colonists had never seen before, species from deep in the wilderness. They came in all sizes, from small burrowing things to large herbivores that stood taller than the buildings. And they all moved toward the colony. What's going on? Aisha whispered. David and Ruth ran over along with other adults. Everyone stared in amazement as the animals assembled. They didn't attack or cause trouble. They simply positioned themselves around the colony's perimeter, adding their numbers to the defense. It's the planet, Ruth breathed. I think Verdant 7 has some kind of ecosystem connection. The animals are communicating somehow. Can they understand us? Tommy asked. I don't know. But they clearly understand that we're in danger. Scrapper climbed onto a rock and made a series of chirping and growling sounds. Several animals turned their heads toward him as if listening. The honey badger looked like a general addressing troops. That's impossible, Greg said, but his voice lacked conviction. They were all seeing something that shouldn't be possible. In orbit, Dreth watched through his ship's sensors. The gathering of animals around the human colony was concerning. He had fought many species across the galaxy, but never had he seen wildlife organized like this. Should we strike now? His second-in-command asked. Before they become more entrenched? Dreth considered. His orders from Trilvan were clear. Remove the humans or eliminate them. But something about this situation felt wrong. The footage of the honey badger's attack had bothered him more than he wanted to admit. Not because it was dangerous, but because it reminded him of something. His own daughter, back on his homeworld, had a pet. A small flying creature that she loved more than anything. If someone threatened it, she would fight just as fiercely as the human child. When had he become the villain in someone else's story? Sir? His officer prompted. Hold position, Dreth ordered. No strikes yet. But Ambassador Trilvan demands action. Ambassador Trilvan is not here. I command this fleet and I say we wait. Back on the surface, Lily stood with her parents and friends surrounded by an army of animals. Scrapper sat on her shoulder, his dark eyes watching the sky. They're not attacking, David observed. Why aren't they attacking? Maybe they're scared, Tommy suggested. Ruth shook her head slowly. Or maybe someone up there is starting to question their orders. In the command center, a new message arrived. It was from Earth. The fleet had received their distress call and was coming at maximum speed. They would arrive in 12 days. 12 days. They just had to survive 12 more days. Around the colony, animals and humans stood watch together, an alliance that should have been impossible. And in that moment, something shifted in the galaxy's understanding of humanity. These were not just clever beings with advanced technology. These were beings who inspired loyalty from the very planet itself. On the 8th day, Trilvan's patience ran out. The crystalline ambassador sent new orders from the League headquarters, and these orders left no room for interpretation. The colony was to be pacified immediately, by any means necessary. Dreth received the transmission in his command chamber. He read it 3 times, his scaled hands gripping the datapad tighter each time. The orders authorized lethal force against the humans if they continued to resist. Against the animals, elimination was not just authorized but required. He thought of his daughter again, of her small pet, of the way she smiled when it perched on her shoulder. "Sir, we have incoming," his tactical officer announced. "Additional League forces. 2 more warships and 6 troop carriers." Dreth's heart sank. The decision had been taken out of his hands. Whatever doubts he harbored no longer mattered. The machine of war was in motion. Ambassador Trilvan's face appeared on the communication screen, harsh and unyielding. "Captain Dreth, you have failed to resolve a simple situation. I am assuming direct command. Prepare for ground assault." 200 fresh soldiers began loading into drop pods. These were not like the first group. These were hardened veterans, beings who had crushed rebellions on a dozen worlds. They wore heavier armor and carried weapons designed to kill, not capture. On the surface, alarms blared across the colony. The humans had been monitoring the orbital activity and knew what was coming. Families rushed to shelters. Those who chose to fight took positions behind barriers. The animals sensed the danger and growled, hissed and roared their defiance. Lily refused to go to the shelter. "I'm staying with Scrapper," she told her parents. "Absolutely not," Ruth said firmly. "You're going underground with the other children. If I hide, Scrapper will try to find me. He'll be exposed. I'm safer if he can see me." David and Ruth exchanged helpless looks. Their daughter was right, and they knew it. Scrapper would never leave Lily, no matter how dangerous it got. "Then you stay in the command center," David compromised. "Behind 3 layers of reinforced walls, agreed?" Lily nodded, clutching Scrapper close. The drop pods fell like meteors, impacting all around the colony. Soldiers poured out, weapons blazing. They moved in coordinated teams, professional and deadly. This was not a raid. This was an invasion. The animals charged to meet them. Shadowrunners moved in packs, targeting isolated soldiers. The larger herbivores used their bulk to smash through equipment. Earth dogs worked with local predators, their combined tactics confusing the aliens who had never faced such cooperation. But the soldiers were prepared this time. They used stun grenades that affected animals more than humans. They deployed energy barriers that the creatures couldn't pass. Slowly, methodically, they pushed forward. At the north barrier, a soldier raised his weapon toward a group of cats. Tommy's father, who had been a soldier on Earth before joining the colony, tackled the alien from behind. Other humans joined the fight, using farming tools and improvised weapons. The League soldiers were under orders not to kill humans unless absolutely necessary. The animals had no such protection. Energy blasts cut through the air and creatures began to fall. Lily watched through the command center screens, tears streaming down her face. "They're killing them," she whispered. "They're killing all of them." Scrapper stood on the console, his fur bristled, every muscle tense. He watched his friends fall and his small body trembled with rage. Then something snapped in the honey badger. Scrapper leaped from the console and raced toward the door. Lily ran after him, but he was too fast. David tried to grab his daughter, but she twisted away. Lily, no. But Lily was already outside, chasing Scrapper into the battle. The honey badger moved like lightning, heading straight for the thickest fighting. A soldier aimed at a wounded Shadowrunner. Scrapper hit him low, his teeth finding the weak point in the knee joint. The soldier went down screaming. Another soldier turned his weapon on Scrapper. Lily threw herself in front of the blast, arms spread wide. "Don't you dare!" The soldier hesitated, confused by the human child protecting an animal. In that moment, Max, the old retriever, slammed into the soldier's side. More dogs followed, more cats, more of everything. Across the battlefield, something extraordinary occurred. Every animal, human and alien alike, seemed to understand that the small honey badger and the brave child were the heart of this fight. They rallied around Lily and Scrapper, forming a living shield. Dreth watched from his command ship, horror growing in his chest. He saw soldiers beating back animals. He saw humans throwing themselves into danger to protect creatures. He saw a little girl standing in the middle of a war zone, arms wrapped around a small black and silver animal, and he saw his own troops preparing to fire on them. "Ceasefire," he commanded into his communicator. "Sir, Ambassador Trilvan has ordered." I said, "Ceasefire. All units stand down immediately." On the ground, soldiers stopped mid-attack, confused by the order. Animals and humans froze as well, panting and bloodied but still standing. Dreth activated the general broadcast. "All troops fall back to the drop pods. We are evacuating." Trilvan's voice screeched through the command channel. "Captain, you are directly disobeying League orders. I will have you court-martialed." "Then court-martial me," Dreth replied calmly. "I will not murder children and their pets. I will not become a monster to satisfy your greed." "Your greed?" Trilvan's crystalline form seemed to vibrate with anger on the screen. "This is about galactic order." "No, Ambassador." I accessed the real files. "This is about resort development contracts. You want this planet for profit and you're willing to kill to get it." Silence fell across the command channel. Other League ships had heard the exchange. The secret was out. On the surface, Lily held Scrapper tight as the alien soldiers retreated. Around her, wounded animals limped to safety. Wounded humans helped each other stand. They had survived. But as the last drop pod lifted off, new contacts appeared on the colony sensors. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Big ships, human ships. Earth had arrived early. Admiral Patricia Hayes stood on the bridge of the EDS Determination, watching the tactical display. 3 League warships hung in orbit around Verdant 7. They were outgunned but hadn't retreated. That told her everything she needed to know about the situation. "Open a channel to all ships," she ordered. "League vessels and colonial settlement." When the channel opened, her voice carried the weight of Earth's military and the fury of a parent protecting children. "This is Admiral Hayes of the Earth Defense Fleet. Verdant 7 is under Earth's direct protection. Any hostile action against that colony or its inhabitants will be considered an act of war." On Dreth's ship, officers looked to their captain for orders. Trilvan's face appeared on screen, demanding they hold position and fight. But Dreth had made his choice. "League fleet, this is Captain Dreth. I am standing down. My ships will withdraw from Verdant 7 space immediately." "Captain, you are a traitor to the League." Trilvan shrieked. "No, Ambassador. I am a soldier who remembers what honor means." The 2 remaining League warships hesitated, then followed Dreth's lead. They powered down weapons and began moving away from the planet. Trilvan's protests echoed through empty channels as the fleet ignored him. On the surface, the colonists erupted in cheers. Lily hugged Scrapper so hard the honey badger squeaked in protest. Around them, humans and animals celebrated together, the strange alliance that had saved them all. Ruth pulled her daughter close, checking her for injuries. "Don't you ever run into battle like that again?" "But Mom, Scrapper needed me, and we need you," David said, joining the embrace. "You're very brave, sweetheart." "Too brave sometimes." Within hours, Earth transport ships began landing. They brought medical supplies, food, and most importantly, a team of diplomatic specialists. Among them was a slight woman with graying hair named Dr. Sarah Foster, who specialized in first contact situations. She met with the Colony Council in the restored community hall. Greg, David, Ruth, and several others sat around the table, exhausted but relieved. "Earth takes full responsibility for the colony's defense going forward," Dr. Foster explained. "But we need to understand what happened here. The reports mention coordinated animal behavior that seems impossible." Ruth pulled up her research data. "I've been studying it. Verdant 7 has what I'm calling an ecosystem resonance field. It's a low-level telepathic network connecting all animal life on the planet. The honey badgers, being already fearless and intelligent, somehow became focal points within that network." "Are you saying the animals are telepathic?" "Not exactly. More like they share emotions and intent through the planet itself." When Scrapper felt threatened, when he understood that Lily was in danger, somehow that signal amplified through the whole ecosystem. Dr. Foster leaned back, processing the implications. "Do you know what this means?" "This could change everything we understand about planetary biology." "It also means," David added, "that any species living here needs to respect the existing life. We're not separate from this world. We're part of it." While adults talked policy, Lily sat outside with her friends and Scrapper. Other children had gathered, drawn by the story of what happened. Scrapper, for his part, seemed entirely unbothered by his newfound fame. He was more interested in the jerky Tommy had in his pocket. "You're a hero," Aisha told the honey badger. "Do you know that?" Scrapper chirped and went back to begging for food. "I don't think he cares," Lily giggled. But the galaxy cared. Ruth's footage had continued to spread, and now it was joined by recordings from the battle. Beings across countless worlds watched a small Earth creature face down armed soldiers. They watched a child refuse to abandon her friend. They watched an alliance between species that should have been impossible. The political consequences were immediate and severe. The Chittick delegation called for Trilvan's removal. Other League members joined them. Within a week, the Crystalline ambassador was stripped of authority and facing trial for corruption and abuse of power. The League itself underwent investigation. The resort development scheme was exposed, showing how Trilvan had manipulated laws for profit. 17 other worlds that had been similarly threatened came forward with their own stories. But the biggest change came in how the galaxy viewed humans and their animals. Other species had pets, of course. But the bond between humans and their creatures was different. It went beyond ownership or even companionship. It was family, and the galaxy learned that humans would fight, sacrifice, and die for family. 3 months after the siege ended, representatives from 47 different species came to Verdant 7. They wanted to learn about human-animal relationships. They wanted to understand the bond that had inspired a planet to defend itself. Lily, now 9 years old, spoke to them in the same community hall where Trilvan had first threatened her. She wore a simple dress and held Scrapper in her arms. "People ask me why I wouldn't give him up," she said, her voice small but clear. "They say he's just an animal. But Scrapper isn't just anything. He's my best friend. He's loyal and brave and kind. He makes me laugh when I'm sad. He protects me when I'm scared. How could I ever give that up? How could anyone?" The alien delegates listened in silence. Some understood immediately. Others would need time to grasp what she meant. But all of them recognized that they had witnessed something important. Dreth was among the visitors. He had requested asylum on Verdant 7, and after much debate, the colony had granted it. He now worked with David, teaching colonists defense techniques while learning human ways. He approached Lily after her speech, and to everyone's surprise, knelt before the small girl. "I apologize for threatening you and your companion," he said formally. "I was following orders, but that is no excuse. You taught me that some orders should not be followed." Lily looked at the massive reptilian warrior, then at Scrapper. The honey badger studied Dreth with dark, intelligent eyes. After a moment, Scrapper made a small chirping sound that wasn't quite aggressive. "Scrapper says you're forgiven," Lily translated. "He says you figured out the right thing eventually." Dreth smiled, a fearsome expression on his scaled face. "Your companion is wise." As the sun set over Verdant 7, painting the purple forest in shades of gold and amber, Lily walked home with her parents. Scrapper rode on her shoulder, watching the world with his usual alertness. "Do you think things will really change?" Lily asked. David squeezed her hand. "They already have, sweetheart. Because of you and Scrapper, the galaxy learned an important lesson." "What lesson?" Ruth smiled. "That love is stronger than fear. That family is worth fighting for. And most importantly, that you should never ever threaten a human child's honey badger." Scrapper chirped his agreement, and in the distance, the other animals of Verdant 7 called back. The planet was at peace, protected by the strangest army the galaxy had ever seen. An army of honey badgers, dogs, cats, shadow runners, and humans who refused to abandon those they loved. And somewhere in the galactic records, a new law was being written. The Companion Species Protection Act, inspired by a 12-kilogram honey badger who had changed the course of history by simply being what he had always been. Fearless, loyal, and absolutely unwilling to back down from anything. The galaxy had learned its lesson the hard way, and it would never forget.